the 10-year model is essentially, it's a model in which you could put money, you can have money into a self-directed retirement account and in a tax-free environment, and leveraging your own notes to grow the money in this account exponentially over time. And what I want to do tonight is show you the power of doing that. It takes a little time. It's going to take 10 years to do it, but and we're going to use the model that you've got $200,000 to invest. If you don't have 200,000, all right, that's fine. It just is going to take a little bit longer. That's all. And you certainly can contribute. We're looking at it from a standpoint that maybe you change jobs, you've got an opportunity to roll money over into a self-directed IRA account from an old 401k or something along that line, as well as being able to contribute to that self-directed IRA account as well. So what we're going to do, we're going to make just a couple assumptions, and although in real life this would not necessarily happen exactly as we're demonstrating it, we want you to understand the concept is what we're wanting to do. And as a result, we're going to make every loan exactly the same so you can follow the trend of what takes place. All right. And each one of these notes, all right, has a payment. We're buying notes that have a 20-year payment stream. So it's 240 months. Hey, I'm doing pretty good here, Kyle. All right. The interest rate is 8.34%. Oh my gosh. Let's try that. See if that's better. I don't know if that's any better. All right. The present value that we're purchasing the note at is the unpaid principal balance is $45,000. And we're making the assumption for illustration purposes that these are newly originated loans. I'm just going to put 45K here is what I'm going to do. And that works out in on a mortgage calculator that the payment stream, all right, the payment is $386 a month. I got to work on my threes. Man, Keegan, my grandson could do better at this than I am right now. And he's 4. Okay.
Okay, they learn to swim in this water, Jane. We just, you know. Right.
All right. So that is the payment. And what we're going to assume here, you know, notes are, if you're not aware, notes are purchased and sold at a discount on the secondary market. All the stuff that we're talking about here is a secondary market type of thing. So we have 200,000 to invest. All right. We got 200,000 to invest, and what we're going to do, we're going to buy these notes. Oops, here. We're going to buy. All right, 200K. Just do K. I'm all for shortcuts tonight. There we go. We're going to buy essentially 5 notes. This is what we're going to do. We have 200K, but we're buying each of these notes at a discount of $5,000, which essentially gives you a yield, being this part here, the interest rate or the yield, equaling a yield of 10%. That's realistic. We buy notes at between 10 and 11%. That's essentially what we're looking for, and why, or higher. On the secondary market, we are being able to purchase those at that interest, at that yield rate. So we're going to buy these with a $5,000 discount. And so we're going to have 5 notes. It's paying $386 a month. That's what we've got. So we got, all right, if you guys got to have get a calculator here. All right, let's get eraser. I'm going to erase this. All right. We're buying 5 notes at 40,000 each. We're buying them at a discount. So we're essentially immediately getting an equity position of 25,000 is what we're basically doing. Okay, so our net worth's already increased by 25,000 because we're buying them at a discount. All right, so we have 5 notes. All right, at $386 a month. All right, and that equals, all right, you guys got to get a calculator out, get your phones out, because I'm going to have you start doing some numbers here. Start seeing how this works. All right, so that equals what? Let's see, check your math.
1930.
You're right, that's what my math says. All right, so that's 1930 a month in monthly cash flow that's coming in. Now, obviously, part of that is principal. Part of that is, most of that is interest. All right. Does anybody know what the most valuable part of the note is? If you've got 240 payments, what's the most valuable part in that 240 payments? Anybody have an idea? It is the front half of the note. Anybody have an idea why that would be the case? Boy, everybody's shy.
No.
This is okay. All right.
Because
No,
of
okay.
the interest.
Exactly. You know, if you ever looked at an amortization schedule of a note, the first part of the note is 90% plus interest. It's not, you're paying very little down on your principal payment. And so as a result, the most valuable part of the note is the first half of the note. So keeping that in mind, we're going to be leveraging that. All right. So we have 5 notes. We purchased at $40,000. We're getting $1,930 a month that's coming in. And so any idea how many months before we would get enough money so that we could buy the 6th note? Calculate it out.
About 20 months, 21 months.
There you go, 21 months. Yeah, 21 months. All right, so not quite 2 years. And this thing, man, this is boring. But like with anything, when you're starting out small and you're leaving it alone and letting it build on top of itself. So at the end of 21 months, you've got $40,500. I'm not going to write these numbers down, but you've got $40,531. That's what you have. So you can buy your 6th note. Now your 6th note times 386. All right, equals, you guys got it. So let's start planning, pulling numbers ahead here. How much is your cash flow on that?
2316.
2316. That's right. All right. So how many months until we can get our 7th note? Till we get 40,000.
A little bit more than 17 months.
Yeah, 18 months. Yeah, these aren't exact. It isn't ballpark. All right, so we're at 18 months. All right, then we can get our 8th one. So we're into it now at 39 months? Is that where we're at? Remember, we're going 10 years, which is 120. All right, you're going to start seeing how this starts accelerating though. All right, 7th note. All right, start working the numbers while I'm playing draw the donkey here. All right, equals what?
2702.
2702. That's our monthly cash flow. All right, and how many months?
About 15.
15, 16 is what I had. I had 16 months. Okay, so basically right now we are, sorry about that. We are roughly 3.5 years into this. All right. We have each one of these notes at 5, 6, and 7. Again, we purchased a $5,000 discount. So we have a net worth okay, of at least 35,000 that we put into our portfolio, and we've got a monthly cash flow now of almost $2,700 a month. All
Hmm.
right, at 3.5 years, we still got a long ways to go. Now I'm gonna erase these for a moment. All right, so now we are. I'm gonna still put the in up here. Put this up because that's gonna be important. I did not get good grades on writing in my elementary years, so I apologize on that right now.
Ooh.
Did you study to be a doctor or something, Jay?
I was in the pharmaceutical industry for 17 years, so
See, there you go. Yeah.
I
I
was
knew
around
there's-
a bunch of them.
I knew there's a connection somewhere.
Yep.
That was my excuse.
All right. All right. Okay. All right. So we're ready for number 8, correct? All right. So we're 8 times, all right, times 386 equals what?
38.
3,088 a month. Okay. And how many months will it take us to get 40,000 to be able to get our 9th one?
13 months.
13. That's exactly right. We're accelerating this. This is a start. Now we go number 9 times 386 equals what?
3474.
Yep. How many months?
12.
12. Yep. Now you're starting. Now we're at 10 times 386. This is a tough one. About 11 months. 10 and a half, 11 months is where we're at here. Now we're on the 11th one. We're 4, 2, 6,
4246.
4246.
4, 2, 4, 6. Yes. And we now at 9.5 months. Okay. We're still not to 120 months yet. Okay. Now we're at note 12 times 386 equals 46, 32. I cheated. I have all the numbers beforehand. We're at 8 months. Okay. Now we're number 13. 386 gives us 5,018. That is, 12 is 8.6 months. All right. 13 is right at 8 months. All right. And then note number 14, all right, equals 5404. And that takes us past, and that puts at 7.5 months. Okay. So essentially you're roughly at about every 6 months from here on out, you will be able to get another note from the cash flow. This illustration I've shown you takes you to 125 months is what it takes you to. So just a tad over 10 years, 10 and a half years. All right. In that 10 and a half years, all right, your automatic net worth, you've added $70,000 into your net worth. You have a cash flow of $5,404 a month coming in, which equals on a yearly basis $64,848 in a tax-free environment in 125 months. Would you like to be having that compounding interest to really start rocking and rolling?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It gets better. Okay. Here's how it gets better. Your unpaid principal balance, all right, of all of these notes at this period of time is just over 500,000. Okay, of these notes, if they were originated at 45,000 and you're buying them at 40. Okay. The nice thing about this is that you have no tenants, you have no toilets. your net worth continues to grow, and you're leveraging the compounding interest on this. It takes a little time, all right, but as with anything, you start out small and you leave it alone and let it continue to build upon itself. Now, the other thing that you have to factor in here is this. If you're looking to utilize this model, the likelihood that these notes are actually going to go out to 20 years is very, very remote. Okay, like less than 1% will. What typically will happen around somewhere between year 7, year 10, people are going to sell the house, they're going to refinance, they're going to do something. Okay, but the average national average is roughly around 7 years that the note will last. So what happens at that point? Well, the nice thing is that there's not been that much principal that's been paid down yet. So everybody understands that you've got the 70,000 here, and you got the $70,000 of net worth, and you've got 64,000 a year coming in on a monthly basis at that point. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to erase this, and then I'm going to go to something else. All right. This is nothing more than amortization schedule, 45,000, same things that we had beforehand, and taking it all the way to zero. If you look at where the red line being the interest and the blue line where the principal is, all right, roughly at about 141 is where they cross. That means that's where it's equal. You're paying the same amount of interest as you are in your monthly payment. You're paying same amount of interest as principal paid down. Well, if you go 120 months, you scroll this down. Oops, I went too far. So you've received, for say 10 years, you've received, what's 10 years at 386? Okay, come on, that's not hard. 10 years.
3860.
3860.
There you go. All right, well, 10 years is 120 months times 386, so it's better than that. 120 times 386.
Oh, 10 years since 12 then.
46,000.
All right, so you've received 46,000 on this,
Yeah.
and the principal balance at the end of the 120 month at 10 years is 31,000. So the principal that has actually been paid down in that 10 years has only been roughly $9,000. When they refinance, you get that 31,000 back. That's what you do, because that's the principal still owed to you. So now you got 46,000. And then you've got 31,000 of principals coming. So what is that? 110 grand? Roughly. Multiply that by 14 then. That's what you've got to play with then, going down the road. I don't even know what that's. I didn't figure that part up, but that's a lot of money. Okay, I can tell you that.
38.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm essentially telling you, if they pay off early, okay, at 7 years, it makes it even better, because now you can turn around and reinvest it and leverage that thing again. It's what you can do with the bulk of the payment being the interest part. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're stacking interest upon interest upon interest upon interest is what you're basically doing. And it really starts to have a exponential compounding effect for you over time is what it really does. Okay, here we go with the whiteboard. All right, so if you look at your payment schedule during this period of time, all right, what is essentially happening? All right, you got every month, you've got a payment that's coming in. Now this is your first note. All right, this is your first note. And here, down here, we'll say this is your 14th note that you've recently purchased. Okay, I know it's really stink. This note has made this many, a whole bunch of payments. All right, and the principal has gone from here, we'll say down to roughly there. Okay, this one, okay, has maybe only paid that much, and it is pretty much straight. What I want to explain here is that each of these notes start stacking on top of each one. That's what they do. So you get this type of effect that's happening, which is accelerating things.
Hmm.
And each one, the amount that's happening as far as their pay down on their principal is less and less as you're going. So if you wouldn't put another dime into this, or even buy another note, say at the 10-year mark, if these would all go to the full term, you're good for another 10 years. All right. And you've got 14 notes. If you go 386, all right, times, I got to think here a second, 386 times 240. What is that? That's 240 months times a 386 monthly payment,
92,640.
92,640, and then multiply that by 14 notes. That's over $1 million, isn't it?
Yeah, roughly 1.3.
1.3, yeah, 1.3 mil. So if you do this for 10 years and assume, we're making some assumptions, it's not going to happen in real life. What I'm trying to illustrate is that it gives you the idea of the compounding that's happening here. All right, and that's just a 20-year time frame, guys. The compounding of this is phenomenal. You're working compounding interest, I'll say backwards, is what you do versus what happens in the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
This is how the banks get rich. Okay. And what we are essentially doing is we're being the bank. That's what we're essentially doing. Okay. This is perfect. This strategy is absolutely perfect in a self-directed IRA. It's tax-free environment, particularly in a Roth. But even if it's not in a Roth, what you can do is if you've got a traditional, you can start it out in the traditional, or if you, I'll tell you exactly one of the things that I did when I got downsized in my company, all right, that I worked for. I rolled part of that severance package and part of the money that I had in, excuse me, not my severance package. I rolled part of the money that I had in my 401k. I rolled some of that over to a traditional self-directed IRA that allows you to invest in notes like this. And then I paid the tax, and at chunks, $30,000, $40,000 a year, I rolled it from the traditional over to the Roth so that it is all tax-free. The growth is tax-free. And when I take it out, it's tax-free. If you keep it in the traditional, the growth is tax-free, but when you start taking it out, you have to pay taxes on that. So what I basically did when I rolled it from the traditional over to the Roth, I paid the tax on the seed money, all right? And I basically rolled the amount what I felt I could handle to pay the tax out of my other income that we had at the time, and placed that as seed money into the Roth so that that would grow. The other thing in the traditional IRA is that there is a required minimum distribution that you have to start taking when they just bumped it up here. When you turn 72, I think 72 and a half. It used to be 70 and a half. All right. Now for a bunch of you, this is a long ways off, but this is how you set yourself up, guys. All right. You're young enough. You can set yourself up unbelievably well for down the road. All right. In the currently, unless they change the rules, in the Roth, there is not a required minimum distribution. So you can take the money out of the Roth once you're at 59 and a half or older and not take any penalties. If you pull it out before that time, there's going to be taxes and penalty because it's supposed to be used as a retirement account. But then you can also leave it to your heirs then on the back end for any of it that you don't use. So powerful tool here. So now the drawdown, the negative part on this, if you're doing it outside of a self-directed IRA, all right, is that you got to pay ordinary income tax on it because it's all interest. So whatever your tax basis is what your interest is going to get paid on. Excuse me, whatever your tax rate is, it's classified as ordinary income. That's the downside outside of an IRA. Yeah. But this is a fantastic strategy in IRA. And But if it's not in an IRA, those taxes will drag this yield down and this compounding effort quite a bit. Okay. There's possibly another strategy that's a little bit better that we're going to get into here.